I've played with a Ouija board more than a few times. When I was younger, I thought I was interested in all things occult. I spoke to many different entities or spirits throughout the years, with some scary experiences sprinkled in there. But the one that sticks out the most is the time I played right before getting rid of it. I'd been playing with this Ouija for years at this point. I used to love to bring it out and showcase it in front of any skeptics. I used to ask questions that no one but that person could know the answer to, in order to prove I wasn't moving the planchette. There was even an entity that would communicate with me often in the house I grew up in. He'd describe following me around or have opinions on things that happened to me or friends I'd started hanging out with or bringing over. So, at this point, you can imagine, I felt a false sense of security in the fact that I've been able to play the Ouija board and handle whatever it comes with. On a Friday night, one of my best friends, Dee, wants to spend the night. We are somewhere around 8th or 9th grade. My mum had just moved us out of our childhood home and into a trailer with her new BF. So it's one of my first times playing here. We watched the scary movie, The Others, ate junk food, and ended up passing out as we weren't getting a whole lot of movement in the Ouija. The next morning, we woke up to howling wind and an empty house. I figured my mum must have gone out to the store or something. We realized at some point the power was out. Didn't think much of it since it was extremely windy outside. This is before the days of cell phones and all that. So we have a digital clock powered by battery, and that was it. My home phone was down because of the power. No worries, it's bright outside. We have light, food, and we're sure the power will be back any moment. So we proceed to eat the food in the fridge before it goes bad and decide to bring out the Ouija, since there's nothing else to do. Can we play? That's always the first question to start the game. Yes, it replied. At this point, we begin to ask questions. Where did my mum go? To store, it answered. What time will she be back? Ouija, 11:23. It was only answering my questions, but not Dee's. I asked why. It spells out bitch. At this point, it starts spelling out bitch over and over again. I felt like it was too aggressive, so I tried to end the game by rubbing over the goodbye sign and putting it back in the box. This wasn't the first time we encountered aggression, so we continue hanging out, eating, and laughing. Then we hear the outer back door swing open. No one comes in. We look at the digital clock, and it's 11:23. Oh shit. It's the exact time. Turn to D in disbelief. My mum must have groceries. Let's go help her bring them in. We go outside and the carport is empty. No one is home. Weird. But okay, that was a coincidence. And I chalk it up to the door on the trailer being too light. The wind must have opened it. I lock the door and return inside to finish eating my cereal. Maybe 5 seconds pass and the door swings open again. At this point, I'm a little scared but trying to explain it away with the wind. I tell Dee to come with me to close the door and lock it to make sure I do it right this time. We do. We return to eating and talking, and the door swings open again. even though we both saw me use the big lock. There's an outer door that leads to a tiny room for plunging. At this point, the outer door and the main door both start swinging open and closed violently and fast. I'm frozen. Both doors are swinging, and everything on the fridge and counters starts flying off. Papers from the counters are literally flying around the room. It was like a scene out of The Exorcist. At this point, it's non-stop. It felt loud and chaotic, and I felt a feeling of absolute terror. I ran for the couch like a little kid. We hid under the blanket from last night, crouched together, scared. It seemed surreal. I grew up Catholic, although my family didn't go to church anymore. The only prayer I could think of was the Our Father. So I started basically chanting it over and over. And then, after about a minute or so, all of a sudden, it stopped. The papers from the fridge all fall to the ground. The doors slam shut. Everything stops flying around, and it's quiet. I find out later my mum was never at the store. She picked up an extra shift at work that Saturday. There was no meaning or significance behind the exact time it gave me, except that's when it started to harass us. I've had many experiences with the Ouija. Weird little things that happened. Starting to see entities in our home after using it. Things being moved. Feeling as if I weren't alone in a room. And prophecies of the age of my death. Through those experiences, I can say the Ouija is dangerous. Whatever you speak to mixes in lies with truth when answering. They know more about what's happened than what will happen in the future. Luckily, I was never possessed or anything like that, but I believe that has more to do with a weak mind. Just my belief. I do think I've opened the door to things following me or being around me as I've moved around as an adult. They are never quite gone completely, but it's not nearly as frightening for me now because I have a faith, and that's what keeps me grounded. A faith that sprouted from that day.